Our story begins in a world teetering on the edge of extinction. 5 years prior, a meteor shower brought an extraterrestrial race called the Mimics to Earth. These creatures are more like a single, hyper-adaptive organism than an army. They swept across continental Europe with terrifying speed, and for 5 years, humanity's unified military, the United Defense Force, has known nothing but defeat. Their only glimmer of hope was a single, hard-won victory at Verdun, a battle that turned one soldier, Sergeant Rita Vertasky, into a global icon. Dubbed the Angel of Verdun, her image is plastered everywhere, a symbol of humanity's defiance. She is the war's greatest hero. Our protagonist, however, is the furthest thing from a hero. He is Major William Cage, a slick, charismatic public affairs officer who has built his career on selling the war, not fighting it. He's never seen combat and plans to keep it that way. His comfortable life is shattered when he is summoned to the London headquarters of General Brigham, the architect of the UDF. Brigham has a new assignment for Cage. He is to be embedded on the front lines of Operation Downfall, a massive, all-or-nothing invasion of the French coast, meant to be the decisive turning point in the war. Cage, utterly terrified, tries to weasel his way out. When charm fails, he foolishly resorts to blackmail, threatening to use his media influence to blame Brigham if the invasion fails. This backfires spectacularly. Brigham coldly orders Cage arrested. When Cage attempts to flee, he's tasered into unconsciousness and wakes up in a different kind of hell, a forward operating base at Heathrow Airport, in handcuffs. He has been stripped of his rank, officially labeled a deserter, and demoted to private. He's then unceremoniously shoved into J Squad, a cynical, battle-hardened unit of misfits led by the formidable Master Sergeant Farrell, a man who seems to be carved from granite and pure disdain. To Farrell and the rest of J Squad, Cage is just another coward, a maggot destined for the meat grinder. The next morning, Operation Downfall begins, and it is an unmitigated disaster. The UDF flies directly into a perfectly laid trap. The Mimics are waiting for them. The invasion is a slaughterhouse. The sky fills with explosions as dropships are torn apart, and the beach becomes a maelstrom of chaos and death. Cage, wearing a bulky, weaponized exosuit he barely knows how to operate, is dropped into the heart of the carnage. He is hopelessly out of his depth, surviving the first few minutes on sheer dumb luck, while the soldiers of J Squad are systematically annihilated around him. In a final desperate act of survival, he fumbles with a claymore mine and manages to detonate it just as an unusually large, fast, bluish mimic lunges at him. This is the moment that changes everything. The alien explodes in a shower of corrosive, otherworldly blood, drenching Cage as he dies in agony. And then, he wakes up with a jolt, gasping for air. He's back on the tarmac at Heathrow, living the exact moment of his arrival from the previous morning, with Master Sergeant Farrell screaming in his face. It's not a dream. He is trapped. He is forced to relive the same horrific day on a loop, waking up at Heathrow, being thrust into J Squad, experiencing the terrifying drop onto the beach, dying a brutal death, and waking up again. His warnings about the impending ambush fall on deaf ears. To everyone else, he's just a deserter who has cracked under pressure. But with each agonizing repetition, a change begins. Each death teaches him something new. He memorizes the patterns of the battle, every enemy movement, every friendly casualty, every stray explosion. The coward is slowly, painfully, being stripped away. And through the crucible of endless death, a soldier is beginning to emerge. During one of these loops, a critical encounter occurs. He spots the legendary Rita Vertasky on the battlefield. Using his foreknowledge, he anticipates a mimic attack and saves her life, something no one else could have done. She sees the impossible prediction in his eyes and understands. Before they are both consumed by another explosion, she gives him a single urgent instruction: find me when you wake up. In the next loop, he does exactly that, tracking her down in the base's training yard. She recognizes the same haunted look she once had and takes him to Dr. Carter, a disgraced physicist who was once a leading expert in mimic biology. It is here that the rules of this terrifying game are finally laid bare. Dr. Carter explains that the mimics are a hive mind. The common drones are like its claws. The larger blue aliens, like the one Cage killed, are alphas, which act as the central nervous system for the entire swarm. At the heart of it all is the Omega, the brain. The Omega possesses the ultimate strategic advantage, the ability to control time. Whenever an alpha is killed, the Omega senses the disruption and resets the day, allowing the entire hive mind to retain the memories of the failed battle and adapt its strategy. They can't lose a battle because they can simply replay it until they win. But when Cage killed that alpha and was saturated in its blood, he inadvertently hijacked that connection. He became a human alpha. Now, when he dies, the day resets for him. Rita then reveals her own secret. The same thing happened to her at Verdun. That's how the Angel of Verdun was born. She was trapped in a loop, dying and repeating the battle until she learned how to win. However, after being severely wounded in her final victorious loop, she was given a blood transfusion. The alien biology was flushed from her system, and she lost the power forever. Rita's new purpose becomes clear. She will train Cage. He is their only weapon now. His ability to loop is the key to finding and destroying the Omega, the only real path to victory. And so begins one of the most brutal and darkly comedic training montages in cinematic history. Rita's methodology is ruthlessly efficient. She pushes Cage to his absolute limit in combat simulators and live training. The moment he sustains any significant injury, she kills him herself, without a flicker of emotion, to reset the day. Over hundreds of agonizing loops, Cage is transformed. The fearful, selfish man is burned away, replaced by a hardened, lethal weapon, a warrior who eventually becomes Rita's equal. Their mission evolves: survive the beach, push inland, and get closer to the Omega. Along the way, their professional relationship deepens into a bond of trust and shared trauma. In a rare quiet moment, sheltering in a deserted farmhouse, Cage sees the woman behind the full metal bitch persona. He learns that her relentless drive is fueled by the memory of a man she loved and lost at Verdun. A man she could never save, no matter how many times she looped. As Rita predicted, Cage's connection to the hive mind deepens, and he begins to experience visions of the Omega's location. They painstakingly piece the clues together, identifying its hiding place as a dam in Germany. This becomes their singular focus. But getting from the coast of France to the heart of Germany is a monumental task. Loop after loop, they try and fail, each attempt getting them a little further, but always ending in death. Cage develops deep feelings for Rita, which makes their repeated failures all the more painful. Finally, he reaches a point in their journey where Rita's death becomes an unavoidable certainty, a fixed point he cannot change. Unwilling to watch her die again, he ventures on alone in the next loop. He finally reaches the dam, only to find it empty. The visions were a lie, a sophisticated trap laid by the Omega to lure him into isolation. An alpha ambushes him, not to kill him outright, but to wound him, bleed him out, and reclaim the time-looping power. Realizing he's been outmaneuvered, Cage finds a way to drown himself, desperately resetting the day before the enemy can sever his connection forever. With the visions proven to be a misdirection, they need a new strategy. Dr. Carter had developed a prototype device, a transponder that could theoretically hijack Cage's neural link and give them the Omega's true location. The only problem? It's locked away in General Brigham's office safe. In a masterful sequence, Cage uses his encyclopedic knowledge of the day to orchestrate a flawless infiltration of UDF headquarters. He walks through the bustling command center like a ghost, predicting every turn, every conversation, every spilled coffee. He confronts Brigham and proves his unbelievable story with a series of parlor tricks, revealing intimate details he couldn't possibly know. Rattled, Brigham gives him the device. But their escape goes wrong. Cage is captured, injured, and wakes up in a hospital to his worst nightmare. He's been given a blood transfusion. The power is gone. There will be no more resets. This is their last life, their one and only chance. Before he lost the ability, however, the transponder worked. They know where the Omega is, submerged in the flooded chambers beneath the Louvre Pyramid in Paris. With the doomed invasion just hours away, Cage and Rita turn to the only allies they have left, the cynical grunts of J Squad. In a powerful scene, Cage stands before them and earns their trust not as an officer, but as one of them. He reveals their most personal secrets, their pasts, and their futures. Specifically, how each of them will die on the beach. He knows Ford's real name belonged to a fallen friend, whose family he sends checks to. He knows every detail of their lives, because he has lived and died alongside them hundreds of times. They believe him. Together they steal a dropship and make a desperate one-way flight to Paris. The final assault is a suicide mission. The area around the Louvre is swarming with mimics. One by one, the soldiers of J Squad make the ultimate sacrifice, clearing a path for Cage and Rita to reach the pyramid. At the entrance, with the Omega just below them, guarded by a lone Alpha, Rita knows what she must do. She will be the diversion. In a quiet, heartbreaking moment, she kisses him, thanking him for getting her this far. The Alpha kills her, but her sacrifice buys Cage the precious seconds he needs. The creature impales him, but as he's dying, Cage pulls the pins from a belt of grenades and lets them fall into the depths, directly onto the Omega. The world erupts in a massive explosion. As Cage dies, his body floats down into the swirling, incandescent blood of the dying Omega. And this is where the ending beautifully clicks into place. Despite having lost the ability, Cage wakes up again. The first time, he was exposed to the blood of a mere Alpha. In his final moments, he was bathed in the very essence of the Omega itself. He absorbed the power from the source. The Omega's death triggered one final cataclysmic reset. But because the brain of the Hive was destroyed, the reset signal it sent back through time was corrupted with its own demise, creating a lethal feedback wave that wiped out every mimic on the planet a day in the past. Cage, however, is human. His life isn't dependent on the Omega's existence, so while the reset killed the aliens, it simply rebooted the day for him. And why does he wake up earlier, in the helicopter on his way to first meet Brigham? Because killing the Omega created a new loop, a new save point. His original loop was tied to the Alpha's death on the beach. This final one was tied to the Omega's death in Paris, resetting to the morning before that pivotal event. Cage arrives at Heathrow not as a disgraced private, but as Major Cage, a war hero. News reports are blaring. The war is over. A mysterious energy surge in Paris has caused the enemy to collapse. He walks through the base and finds J Squad, alive, boisterous, and completely unaware of the hell they've been through. And then he sees Rita. She looks at him with the same cold dismissal she did in his very first training loop. She doesn't know him, but he knows everything. And for the first time in what feels like an eternity, he smiles because tomorrow is finally a new day and he has a chance to start over, for real. It's a perfect loop, finally and completely closed.